Hi!
Hello.
Hi! How is everyone?
Hey.
I actually don't know who's watching, and we can't talk to you. This is so weird. Anyways, hello! I'm Christine,
I'm Chloe. This is Meenakshi.
and you're watching Disney. No, you're not watching Disney Channel. So today we're gonna be sharing a little bit about the importance of storytelling and creative arts for ethnically diverse communities here in Hong Kong. So if you can see the screen, can you see the screen?
Yes.
Awesome. So Belonging is a community arts for education lab that harnesses the transformative power of storytelling to cultivate and co-create cultures of inclusion for Hong Kong's ethnically diverse communities. So what does that mean? Basically, we try to make spaces for ethnically diverse youth to express themselves creatively, either through workshops, exhibitions, poetry readings, and today you'll be hearing from these two lovely ladies about the poems that they wrote for our workshops last year. But before that, I want to share a little bit about what belonging is. I'm pretty sure some of you don't know about this, so yeah. What we do, so as I mentioned, right, we do storytelling and our community creative arts program. So this is a series of workshops that centers around, how to tell your story through creative arts.
Yes.
Either through poems or photography. And then those poems and photographs eventually are featured at an exhibition. And you have this little thing here called Chats Over Cha. So this was kind of created as a way to spotlight the youth or the participants, but more importantly, the stories behind their works. Because it's one thing to, write your own story, but it's another thing to actually understand, like, okay, where is this person coming from, right? What are the experiences that shape this person to, create a certain poem or photo or take a certain photo, right? And I feel like those really point to a lot of the things that shape us, right? Our culture, our communities, right? The people we ally with, our friends, our family, and all that. So why is it B/longing? You're probably wondering. So the stories we tell are a very important part of the ties that bind us. They reveal our culture, our identities, our histories, our values, and our identities. Oh, did I say identities twice? I probably did. So they reflect our experiences of being, longing, and belonging, either to Hong Kong or to wherever or to whomever. So through storytelling, we hope to reimagine the way we reflect on these experiences. So, belonging, as you know, is not like one experience, right? There's so many versions. There's so many versions of belonging or unbelonging, right? I can belong to Hong Kong, but not belong to the Philippines. So just to contextualize everything, I like to position myself. So what I do for a living is research. I currently work at the Chinese University of Hong Kong as a researcher, and I'm very aware of my proximity to intellectual capital. So I have a certain, when I do research, it's like, especially if it's research on my community, I always have to ask myself, why, what are my motivations, right? And how do I interact with them knowing that I have an agenda, right? So when I position myself, it's really assessing my privilege and also what are the identities, what are the experiences, what are the things that motivate me, right? Am I just using this community, right, for my own advantage, or does my research at the end of the day really benefit this community? So just to give you context, I am a Filipino. I was born in Cebu. My family migrated to Hong Kong in 1998 when I was 2 years old, and I grew up here ever since. So I did my primary education here, secondary at a local school, and then eventually moved to an international school on scholarship because it's expensive. And then uni was all here. Do you want to introduce yourself, Chloe?
Okay, hi, my name is Chloe. I'm also Filipino. I was born and raised here in Hong Kong. My parents migrated to Hong Kong around 1992. So my dad came here to work as an engineer, and my mom came here as a migrant domestic worker. So yeah, I grew up here all my life, and I didn't go to the Philippines until I was 7, I think. So it was very eye opening, and I met my cousins finally, and I loved it. So I study literature at the Chinese University of Hong Kong. I'm in my final year. Yay! Long journey, but I'm really proud to be where I am today. Thanks.
Yes. Yeah, so guys, I introduced myself, so okay. Okay, let's start it. So my name is Meenakshi, and so I'm from India, and which is a part of the south side, so most like a village side, but yeah, but if you know Chennai, then probably you would know what is South Indian, right? So my parents were migrate when it was around, I don't know which year, but after I was born, and around a few years later my dad was in here, moved to New Delhi, and then from there he was promoted to Hong Kong, and then he was then since then until now he's as a Asian chef in Asian restaurant, and around like 28 years until now he has been working there in the same restaurant. And then my mom moved after a few years later. My dad was a little bit settled down, and then she moved here as a dependent visa. Then afterwards she was working as if she was selling her own foods, because in Hong Kong it's not that easy to find. I mean, you as we are youngsters, we would know that Hong Kong is a food lover paradise or something we call it in Hong Kong, but of course that is very selective only. But for those like as we are ethnic, as we are Indians, we very rare to find those cultures foods. However, it's located in Chingking Mansion, but not many people are still allowed to go there. It's restricted and all, so it was very like how do I say, it was really not comfortable to find it a right place to go and all. So my mom was cooking herself at home, and then she just dispatched in their office or something, and yeah, it was going along. And then afterwards, then my other the third one, my third Yale sister was born. Then afterwards my mom stopped and all. Then yeah, and then afterward everything was going on with my mom's how and my dad was. Then my mom moved to work in another restaurants or something, and after that then we decided to open a restaurant. And that was when it was 2016 or something, where and then until now we have been running in Chungking Mansion. And yes, it's pretty, I must say, around like 5 years and a half or something we have been running. But of course due to this COVID it's huge loss and all, but still we are we're still fighting ourselves and we are running it. So yeah, and well, yeah, I'll introduce more about my parents. Well, I was moved along with my mom after she settled down, and then I studied in Delhi Broadway, and then yeah, I started from in well, I started from quite long back. It was in primary P5 something. In the second semester I joined, and then afterwards I finished P6. Then I got to selected at the first interview. I was approved and I got into the Delia, and then completed, and then I went to finish all the way until University of Sunderland. Now I have bachelor degree. Yay!
She has a bachelor's degree.
Yes.
Yes. Oh yes, we'll be talking about the restaurant
Yes.
later. So thank you for introducing yourselves.
Thank you.
So Belonging, as I mentioned, right, is a community creative arts for education lab. So what we do is we really meet communities where they are to empower them and become catalysts for change, and support them as they navigate their multiple identities, their different versions of belonging, and their journey towards self-discovery. And also, more, I think this speaks to what's been happening over the past year. We really want to equip the youth with the vocabulary to enhance intercultural awareness. Hong Kong is labeled as an international city, but is it really though? There are a lot of things that, we have to work on, and we have to do that collectively because no one can do this alone, right? And yeah, just to develop empathy and better understand, conflict cycles and triggers in our own communities. And finally, as I mentioned earlier, right, to co-create and cultivate cultures of inclusion and sustainable change through collective healing and intercultural dialogue. And we do that all through the arts because it's such a good buffer, you know? It's such a good way to like start a conversation without wanting to like fight people, you know? I feel like when people talk about issues like, you know, race, especially in the context of Hong Kong. I don't know if it's the same for you both, but in my experience, it's like two people just yelling at each other and no one really
Listens.
yeah.
Yes.
So our whole program is based on this diagram here. As I mentioned, right, we can't do this alone, but it's so easy to feel isolated in whatever you do, right? It's so easy to think, oh, I can't change this place because it's just so immovable, right? There are many things that I can't do as an individual. But what we want to, I think, introduce and start making people think about is that you do have the power to change, and you can do that through the tiny things, right?
Yes.
Just by influencing the people around you and your family and your friends. I think it's so much easier to think about change that way and sustainable as well. So I want to share this quote by Bell Hooks. It's about, I guess, the idea of belonging and creating safe spaces to unpack these, you know, the many identities we have. We can restore hope in a world that transcends race by building communities where self-esteem comes not from feeling superior to any group, but from one's relationship to the land, to the people, to the place, wherever that may be. When we create beloved community, environments that are anti-racist and inclusive, it need not matter whether those spaces are diverse. What matters is that should difference enter the world of beloved community, it can find a place of welcome, a place to belong. So again, right, what this quote really reminds us of is the importance of embracing our differences, right? Hong Kong is a very diverse city, as we heard in Jeff's talk, but you know, how inclusive is it, right? When you talk about diversity and inclusion, right? Diversity is seeing people from different places, like lined up. But inclusion means like really involving them in what we do, right? Really making sure they feel like they belong. So why is storytelling so important in what we do, right? I feel like something I personally experienced growing up, maybe you because English major, but like a lot of the things I was exposed to growing up was like books that are pale, male, and stale. So like Shakespeare and Chaucer and, you know, all these dead white men. And I'm not trying to belittle their work. Their stuff is great. Like I love, like a lot of their stuff has been so eye-opening for me, like as an English major. But it sucks that the only time I was able to see or read or was exposed to works by women of color, women who looked like me, had brown skin, was in like the final few years of university. But in particular, when I changed from a local to an international school. And like it made me think, this is like a structural thing. Like why are people who are allowed to pay for a better education exposed to works of literature that are more eye-opening, you know? So these are, I guess, some of the things that I've been thinking about over the past few years, right? Like what are the structural barriers to accessing a good education, particularly when it comes to creative arts? And yeah. So just to quickly sum this up, right? Like I think as a community arts lab that really focuses on stories and storytelling, we find it important that the stories and histories of the people who came before us in Hong Kong are recognized. As we heard in Jeff's talk, right? The cemetery, the Hindu Sikh temple in Happy Valley, the people whose graves are there belong to, like, you know, people who have been in Hong Kong, people from our communities who have been in Hong Kong since the 1800s. And it blows my mind that only some of us found out that, you know, we had people before us who came here. One thing a student said that it blows my mind to this day. Like when I think about it, I get goosebumps. So one of the student volunteers at the Hindu Sikh temple cleanup, after cleaning up the graves, we did a little debrief, and he said, "Wow, I didn't know my communities were here before me. The next time someone says, go home, go back to your home country, I can tell them I am home." And that was just so like powerful. And yeah, like, I don't know about you, but I also haven't done a lot of research about the Filipino migration history in Hong Kong because it's not made accessible. It was only a few weeks ago I found out that the Filipino flag was sewn in Wan Chai. That's wild. So it's things like that, right? Like trying to make these stories more accessible, because I feel like from someone who is, an EM, for lack of a better term, a lot of our stories are made invisible. And so it's easy for us to think that, we don't belong here. When someone says go home, we're like, okay, we're gonna go home. And as Jeff said, right, we never really fight for that. So that's, I guess, something we want to do moving forward. So yeah, going back to, I guess, the problem with reading stories that are one single narrative, right? They kind of create stereotypes. And I think both of you have seen and know about like some problematic textbooks, right, that have been published, and maybe you in the audience have seen this, right, where you would see in textbooks, oh yeah, Filipinos are domestic workers, Indians are like food panda delivery people, Indonesians are also domestic workers, and things like that, right, and then bankers are white people, right, so it's like, what's the problem with this? Like, Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie is a Nigerian writer, and in her TED Talk, please watch this when you have time. It's required watching, required screening. It's called The Danger of a Single Story, and it's a TED Talk. And one line she says is this: "The single story creates stereotypes, and the problem with stereotypes is that they are not that they are untrue, but that they are incomplete. They make one story become the only story." So yeah, Filipinos are domestic workers, but we're not just domestic workers, right? We're a lot more than that. And not to say that being a domestic worker is also like something to be looked down upon. It's such a great, it's a job that people don't recognize the value for. Like, the labor of caring is something that, another topic for another time, but that's something that needs to be recognized more. But yeah, my point is that we need to start listening to more than one story and trying to unpack the nuances. So what we're going to do today is listen to the stories from the two ladies beside me. They're actually our participants from our first ever belonging workshop. And what you see on the screen now at Chats Over Cha is essentially, as I mentioned, right, it's a way to really understand where they're coming from and understand, why did they write these poems or take these photos? And it really wants to, understand the histories and stories behind their work. So before we go into their poetry reading, I want to share one final thing with all of you. And it's another quote, again, because we love quotes, we love citations. This is from Brené Brown. She's a psychologist. And she wrote this piece called The Practice of Story Stewardship. And this is it's an amazing article because it explains the importance of telling stories, but also receiving stories. And I feel like to all the students there who are like graduating and, are about to get their DSE results, I feel like moving forward, just remember that you have a very important story to tell and that you are not... your identity is not confined to this exam, right? There's so much more than that for you ahead. So let me read this. Story stewardship means honoring the sacred nature of story, the ones we share and the ones we hear, and knowing that we've been entrusted with something valuable, or that we have created something, or that we have something valuable that we should treat with respect and care. We are good stewards of the stories we tell, by trusting them to people who have earned the right to hear them and telling them only when we are ready. We are good stewards of the story we hear by listening, being curious, affirming and believing people when they tell us how they experienced something. Okay, so without further ado, this is a photo of the exhibition. So our exhibition took place at Chungking Mansions. And the reason why we did that is because we also want to kind of decenter traditional art museums and really relocate the art to where it belongs, right, in community spaces. I feel like there is a distance when you have art put in a museum.
Yeah.
Like it's very like, what does that mean? You know, I don't know. Maybe you have had that experience where you go to a museum and you're like, what does this mean? You know, so this is kind of just contextualizing it and really returning it to the communities.
Oh my god, next to me.
All right, so I'm gonna pass the time to Meenakshi, who's going to read
Skip this slide.
her poem
Yes.
called Curry. Do you want to tell us a little bit about the poem first? Like, why did you?
So before getting started about how did I come to this poem, this inspired me by my grandparents, and because my grandparents was like very, how do I say it? They had their own shop. They ran in their own home, and of course I was back then when I was kid, I was there as well. So they sell like more like snacks, so Indian snacks. I'm not sure if you have eaten, but
Like
of course
what?
it's you would not be heard about it because it's like muruku and adrasams and something like that. I'm sure it's a very unique name for you guys because it's very delicious snacks, but of course it's a very it takes a lot of efforts to do that because it contains a lot of techniques that it needs, which is my grandmother had and my grandfather as well. Well, yeah, so they were running, and so she cooks very very yummy delicious foods, and that's where my mom DNA is also gotten, and so she cooks every day, and that's why she also, as I told you before, that she distributed to a lot of people's and office workers as well in Hong Kong, and she has been giving a lot of dishes. I mean, if you say today what's my food, I would say that I had my rice, curd, and curry and a sambar, and then another one was what's that called, rasam, and then a lot of 5 to 6 side dishes of vegetables. So I mean it's just only for 3 people, but it's like a festivals at home every day, so 3 meals, it's like that. So yeah, so don't worry if we are getting fat or something, that's how my mom gives. So that's how it got inspired me that okay, we have been running and then restaurants, but of course by giving a poetry, that's where it gives a little bit of touches of your feelings more than of taste and feelings, which has 5 cents. So it's more linked to the feelings, and because the feelings, it comes with 5 cents, and poetry gives you eventually. So when you're just biting it, you will be like mesmerizing, and you'll be like, oh my god, I'm lost in this world, I'm in this food, oh my god, every bite you bite. So that's how it inspired me, and yeah, I just go with it, and I actually done 2, but because I wanted to be short and brief, so I just took this one, but however this is the longest one. So yeah, without delay, let's just get started. So the title of it is Curry, and so it was like, let's get Indian dish food sometime. What's your favorite Indian restaurant? I'm sorry, that's your word, made me struggle and started because I couldn't find the wrong response until now. I just want you to know that Indian food is not what you think it is. Indian food is not hot, spicy, tongue on fire. Indian food is not extraordinary, trendy, cool. Indian food is not your Starbucks chai tea latte. Indian food is not all butter chicken swimming in oil. Indian food is not cannot pronounce it as, so I will call it curry. Indian food is not what you eat with your friends from your weekly hot yoga class. Indian food is not tandoori naan chopped into bite-sized pieces for you to lift with a silver fork and knife. Indian food is not a chutney for you to drop onto your grilled cheese sandwich. Indian food is not an all-you-can-bite butter of 10 different curries that all taste the same. Indian food is a whole food pyramid, not a little slice of ethnic food day. Indian food is an embrace contained in ginger, garlic, potatoes. Indian food is the way ginger garlic is one word in Karikuri, which is my restaurant name, Karikuri Akka. So yes, Indian food is masala chai to smooth and acting hot. Indian food is my mother's chili chicken that will make you cry and beg for mercy, but beg for more. And this is the final one. It's like I want you to know that Indian food to me is probably not what it is to you. Indian food is to your Indian next door neighborhood, because saying we all eat the same food is like saying music in America has only one genre. To me, Indian food is my grandmother's love for tomatoes, and Indian food is a karikudi fish cooked at million different ways. Indian food is karikudi food, which I have yet to find at the restaurant here. Indian food is millions of sorry guys, a little bit of nervousness. Forget it. Let's just move on. Sweet stuffed down your throat by relatives who love you too much. And Indian food is fried Shushins, flowers from our gardens. Indian food is the smell of lentil soup, comfort cooking on a stove stop. Indian food is my father's asking me to taste a spoonful. Indian food is my mother forgetting to get the salt in, but me loving it all the same. And even more, Indian food is the home my taste and buds dream of when they sleep. Oof. Thank you guys. That's really long, but yes,
I like it. That's so nice.
Yes, so that's
so
where,
nice.
Yeah.
Good job.
Thank you.
So
yes, and yes, I was gonna say that this is how I got inspired by my grandmothers, and it was more about Indian foods, because people known by Indian food, they call it curry only, but actually that's not how it's called. It's curry. I mean, you can call by different Indians restaurant names or something, or maybe you can call, like, how do I say? Maybe you can call South Indian foods or something, rather than you just say curry. Because I have been studying in universities, and people I've been studying with, it was Chinese. So when they say it, they be like, oh, curry, yeah, she likes curry only. Let's go with curries. Then they will take me to some sort of like Japanese foods, which they contain curries as well. So they will be like, oh, she would prefer that. Just go with that. So I mean, they think that their mentality has fixed it in that okay, Indians means that they prefer only curries, but actually we don't. But in deep more, there is more of curry. So yes, as I mentioned, there are a million different types. So yes, there's a lot more than curries just. So that's it. Yes.
Stereotypes. Stereotypes. Yeah, and you're from South India, right? So like you have a lot of, there's so much more like dosa.
Yes, which we are, we're popular on that. We're very popular on the dosa platters, and many customers who came to our restaurants, they will buy the platters, which is like cost of $30, and it's like a pack which can last for a month perhaps.
Oh, you sell it? Like
yes. Yeah.
I'm gonna go and buy so I can make some dosa at home.
Please, next time.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Well, nice to know. I just found out.
Yes, but that's not just only dosa. That it also includes of idli if you have.
Oh yes.
Yeah, that's steamed one. So you can use that same pattern to use both of the dishes. Yes.
Thank you for sharing.
Thank you.
That. Okay, now it is Chloe's turn.
Yay!
Oh wait, sorry. Just a slide. If you're watching this and you're craving for the food now, please check this restaurant out. It's so good, like chef's kiss.
Yes, it's
so
on the
good.
ground floor. It's the shop number is 19 to 20. Yes.
Their chai is amazing. Yes. Better than Starbucks.
Yeah, Starbucks chai tea latte.
Yeah, tea latte.
It's a no from me.
It's just milk.
Okay, so I'm gonna pass the time now to Chloe.
Okay, hi guys. So my poem is called Summertime Merienda, and it is loosely translated to Summertime Afternoon Tea. And I chose this title because having merienda, or like afternoon tea, is the one. It's something we practice at home, both here in Hong Kong and in the Philippines. It's the one. It's like a time for me and my family to gather together around like 4 p.m. with delicious food on the table. My favorite is green mango with bagoong. Oh my god, I love that.
What's bagoong?
Bagoong is like shrimp paste, fermented shrimp paste. Yeah, it varies from region to region. So the one my mom makes is from Pampanga. Yeah, so I find it's really important because, in the middle of our busy schedules and like the distance, this is the one part of the day where I actually get to connect with my family, because it gets really hard to connect with your loved ones here in Hong Kong. Yeah, it's like a lot of. Yeah, there are times where I feel lonely because I'm like, where's my mom? Where's my dad? So I always look forward to these moments because it's the only time where I can actually talk to them. Yeah. So, this poem, I try to capture my feelings whenever I fly back home, and I look forward to these afternoon teas with my grandparents. And I use a lot of imagery here, a lot of nature imagery. I'm a huge environmentalist. So I'll explain more of that later. So here is my poem. Up high in the sky, the green sharp ridges of the city of... This is where I have problem pronouncing it because it's under Baguio or Baguio. And they have two different meanings. Like one is a city, one means typhoon. Okay, actually, how do you say it?
Baguio.
Baguio, yeah. So the city of Baguio, do not shy. My Lola patiently awaits under the scorching Manila heat, bags filled with homemade treats. Her sampaguita cologne scented the dusty city air. I've never felt at home anywhere else but here. It was late in the summer when I first climbed mango trees. The Laguna de Bay blew a saline breeze, the leaves rustling and the mangoes were clumsily tousled. Lola stood below, plates of steamy rice ready to be served. This is how we save washing the dishes, they joked. Our hands guided to eat the traditional Kamayan way, which is like, eating with your hands. Stories for exchange over dinner. Our culture never led astray. Densely packed into our suitcases, bundles of rich green banana leaves poke out. The silky smooth texture replaces the tabletop silver. Reflected as the food bringing stories of identity and familiarity. In the midst of this bustling multicultural city, the sweet green leaves remind me where I come from, where I belong. Yeah, so...
Yay!
So thank you. So,
Do you want to explain the photo as well?
yeah, so this is the photo I took for the Belonging exhibition. So, I bought banana leaves here in Hong Kong. They were hard to find.
Where'd you buy them, actually?
One Chai Market at an Indonesian store.
Oh!
Yeah, so it's
okay.
like $12. I was expecting just one leaf. You know how many I got? 12.
Oh!
So
So it's
many.
$1 per leaf.
Yes, I was
Nice.
so happy because I only get to do this back home because
Yeah.
we use these as plates and then we eat with our
Oh,
hands. I love that, and it enhances the flavor somehow.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Do.
Yeah,
Oh my
and it's
gosh.
nice because afterwards we would recycle them, use them as fertilizer for our garden and our farm. So it's very environmentally friendly, and yeah, I enjoy it. So here I try to represent my identity as both a Hong Konger and a Filipino. So when I bought these leaves, ever since then, whenever I get a chance, I would try to buy these leaves and then eat them with my food.
Oh
Yeah, so
my-
I put the shomai.
Shomai, yeah.
Shomai here with chopsticks. Yeah, just to show my culture. Like, the plate is kind of like... Okay, here's like a literature lesson. The plate
Oh my gosh.
is my background and then food. Yeah.
Yeah, I like the dim sum setup as well. It's like the 4 pieces only.
Yeah, 4 pieces only, and then there's always like chopsticks on the side.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's nice. It's lovely.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're gonna talk a little bit more. I'm not sure how much time do we have. Okay, so I'm gonna ask them a couple of questions, and as I'm asking them questions, everyone in the audience, if you are using your phone, please feel free to go on to menti.com. We have a few questions, but it's about belonging, just to get your answers, and if we have time, we'll read a few of them. But yeah, I just want to talk to them a little bit more about their stories, and I mean the poetry they wrote. So I feel like in both of your stories, both of your poems, there's this story you want to tell, right? And for you, it's kind of like, Indian food is not curry, not just curry.
Yes.
It's so much more than that.
More.
And you did share an experience about that. And you also shared your story about having the 2 layers of your identity as a Filipino and a Hong Konger represented through the photo we just saw. So I want to ask both of you, you can answer, this is, to both of you. How do you think art or writing, or even just storytelling, what does that mean to you?
You go first.
Well, I'm a literature major, so storytelling is very important to me. It is because I did not go to the Philippines until I was like 7. So when I was younger, my dad gave me so many books about the Philippines. He's very passionate about it. He loves our country. During the Marcos era, he was at the front line fighting. And so he tries to teach me stuff about the Philippines through books. So it was I read a lot of books. I don't remember the names. Some of them were like children's story books. And yeah, it made me connect with the culture more, connect with my parents more, especially because yeah, my parents did not speak English in the beginning, so it was like a way for us to communicate through both Tagalog and English storytelling. And yeah, and as I grew up, I love to read, so I read more books by Chimamanda. I love her.
Oh.
So I learned more about the culture there, and then yeah, I read books from different authors from different backgrounds, and it helped me connect with my friends a lot.
All right. So, well, since I studied for digital marketing, so which means you have to promote brands and all, right? So that comes with storytelling. So that is, of course, it touches your feelings, and even if you write about articles or even PR, then that is also comes with stories, because stories actually has feelings. I mean, if you read books, you will. I mean, if you read those love codes, or if you read those books that is with love stories or something, it will touches you. It will actually makes you feel. You will cry actually. So actually, writing is very important. That is influence to art, and that is where it comes with the story telling. You tell about what exactly of it and something and how you come up with this. So that's why we call story a history, and that's where it comes with the milestones. Where in PowerPoints they will talk about from where until now they are standing and how this happened. So of course it comes with a story. So without a story, how there's a success? It's every company has everything. So whoever's like Apple's or Tesla, whatever, who is a very high branded, they all have every stories. Without stories, there's no success. There's no perfect, because that's where they improve, and that's where they that feelings will actually pushes you guys towards to a success. So yeah, so stories is a very important element to every different firms, every different industries, and even different departments, you know. So
What do stories mean to you as someone who lives in Hong Kong and who is like, you know, a minority, for lack of a better term?
yes, for me, I think story is like, personally, it touches my heart. Like I mean, let's say from my experience of that poetry that I wrote about my restaurants, about my grandmother who come up with this delicious foods. Every bites that I take, how does it comes up with? Why is the people call curry? Why cannot be different other names? So it's like it's a story that it touches me, where my grandmother, how hard works that she have done, and that influence to her that she passed on to my mom, and that's where she becomes a successful, and now we're running a restaurants, right? So that's where the stories begins from my grandmother. So it's a very, I mean I should say I'm blessed to have this kind of grandmother. And I mean, yes. And then afterwards, the stories is actually it gives you a feelings that where it's motivates you, and certain points that you actually need to do something to lead to it. So it's very emotional, more than to say.
Yeah, I feel like for me as well, right? Something I notice is that, like, I feel like the reason we remember movies a lot is because of the stories, like, or movies or books or art or film, whatever. I said movies and film again. But you know, it's more effective than numbers, right? You look at numbers, and numbers are great for generating like impact and income and all that. But I feel like at the end of the day, stories are what, as you said, right, change people's hearts, change people's minds. Okay, one last question. This is for the audience, right? So, what do you want to say as DSE takers? What do you want to say to the students who are listening and who kind of, you know, want to start telling their own story, do
Okay.
you have like inspirational words to leave them with?
Well, should I go?
Yeah.
All right. So, that DSE is not actually that you should scare off. I mean, I heard that tomorrow is your results day, or what is it?
Wednesday.
Oh yeah, so Wednesday. So you do not have to be worried or freak out, or just don't panic. Just chill out. Go have a cup of coffee or tea.
Chai, have
or
chai at her
yeah, or
restaurant.
chai. So no need to worry about that much. I mean, seriously, during my time, I was really freaked out because teachers are just like doctors. I mean, just to get treatments, they would be like, you have to do that, you have to get into this university, so you have to get this mark, it's this one, they will just put you into your mind to look straight. They will never let you to think as if you can turn left or right. So it's a straight path. It's no any turns are left. So it's a straight way. You got no any other option. So for example, if you don't get the mark, then you can't turn back. You're actually stuck in there. You can't even walk further because you didn't get that mark, right? So you do not have to worry that much. I mean, there's a lot of opportunities in Hong Kong as well as in overseas. You can fly over to London. You can even fly to
Anywhere.
anywhere to
After
study.
quarantine.
Yes,
After
yes,
quarantine.
yes, exactly. So you do not have to worry about that much because it's really, really just chill out, and you got a lot of opportunities. Because I got like 25. I need to get 28 because my chosen course was accounting. And to get accounting, it was really hard, I must say. I mean, just 2 points, it wasn't easy. I mean, yes, really, I must say. And that's where I lack of is the LS.
Oh my god.
Liberal study.
that.
I lack of on liberal
So
studies.
much.
So that was a long essay, which was about. I still don't remember what was the essay about. It was really a long one, but yes, it was something about Hong Kong's. So yes, something about Hong Kong's history. As long as I remember, it was something about. Forget it, guys. I don't want to think about it. But anyway, so yes, that's where I think I lack of. But yeah, somehow I managed, and right now I finished degree and I'm degree holder. See, so
You
yes,
can be a degree
you can do
holder
it too.
Okay.
Yes.
Chloe.
Okay, well, I guess one advice, or something that I want to leave here, is no one can make you feel inferior without your consent.
Mm-hmm.
And just to share a little bit, my journey from secondary school to where I am now was so traumatic because I went to a school that did not respect our needs, our educational needs as minorities.
Okay.
So I did not get off to a good start. But I did not let that stop me. I knew as long as I get out of here, I'll be fine. So I was really happy. I went to community college despite my school telling me and not telling me about community college. It's like, they didn't tell me anything. But then I found out about this whole community college thing from my friends. I went there. I was really happy because I finally discovered my potential. I worked hard, and then I'm here now. So whatever happens, it'll be okay. It will always be okay. You'll always find a way. And this thing does not define you. Don't listen to all those negativity. You know who you are. Trust that, and believe in yourself, because you'll always find a way to where you want to be in life. Yeah.
Thank you, girls, for
Yes.
that. Yeah. Don't let a piece of paper define you.
It's a paper.
Yes.
Piece of
Yes.
paper.
Paper at the end of the
True.
day. There's
True.
so much more that is
Yes.
coming your way. And with that, we will end this segment.
Yes.
Um,
So see you.
Want to plug anything?
Oh, follow us belonging at belonging.hk on Instagram at belonging.hk. Do you want to plug your stuff?
Yes.
Or just follow it, and then we'll you'll see. We
Yes.
have some cool events coming up. We did a film screening a few weeks ago with a little chats over cha. So if you're interested in that, just follow us. And signing out. You're watching Disney Channel.
Disney Channel.
I love that. It's
I hate myself.